Space, the final frontier. Well, okay, not really. All right, take two. Here in the Mitten State, welcome to Code 47, bringing you all things Star Trek, spanning the quadrants, the best thing since the neutral zone.
Hey, Trekkies, welcome back, or Trekkers. Boo, I can't believe I said Trekkies. I should go back
I call myself a Trekkie. You call yourself a Trekker. We got both.
You know, Leonard Nimoy very famously once said Trekker, and I think that's what's correct. But regardless, if you're listening to this program, you probably enjoy Star Trek. This is the Code 47 podcast on the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, episode 173. We're inching ever closer to 200 episodes, which is kind of crazy. I am Charlie Carden, your humble servant, Trek Lord of West Michigan, joined by my number one, Peter Stein. Peter, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Well, we've got a fun show for you, as always. Of course, we're kind of in this weird holding pattern because we don't have new content until we get to July. Now, it's almost June, so that's not that far off, but we'll be getting back into talking about Strange New World, so we have new episodes to talk about. But in the time between, we're kind of we're executing upon our real mission here, which is to talk about episodes of which we're approaching 1,000 complete episodes of Star Trek, both TV and movies. So we have a lot to choose from. So we do have another great segment of a random episode this week, this time going back to Lower Decks, which is always a huge, huge privilege for us to talk about that. And then we're getting back into our top fives and bottom fives. In a series, we're talking about Star Trek Enterprise. So we're going to have all that for you. First, though, of course, I do love to give an homage, give some special love and attention to the wonderful people over at our Secret Friends Unite Patreon at patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite, where you do get exclusive shows such as The Facts of Geek Life, where Peter and I are winding down talking about my other favorite show in all of history, Ron Moore's Battlestar Galactica, or the Bad Movies podcast that I do with my wonderful wife, April, called A Bad Trip to the Movies with the Cardins. Those are exclusive just to our Patreon. You also get all of our shows early, and you get them all in one place, which we have 4 different feeds out there because we have 4 different shows. This one, Code 47, Holocron Chronicles, which talks about Star Wars, Oops All Thunderdome, which is our topic show, and then our wonderful spotlight interviews where we talk to creators and actors that make the stuff that we love. When you subscribe to the Patreon, you get all of those in one place, and you get them early. So it's so worth to do, and it's also easy to do and extremely inexpensive, and it supports the channel. Your first week, you can even stay on board as a free Patreon if you want and just get updates. So we would love to have you engage with us and enjoy our wonderful content. Your first month is half off. And then you go forward for as little as $2 a month. That is a lot of entertainment. Hundreds of hours of our back catalog. Everything is there for just $2 a month. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/Secret Friends Unite. Check us out. I think you'll be very glad that you did. Well, as I mentioned, as Peter and I were talking about the pre-roll, there really is not any Star Trek news. We're in a holding pattern. No new show news. No new movie news. So we're just going to, kind of keep on what we always do, which is talking about Star Trek episodes, because that is our mission. That is our now almost 5-year mission, because this show got started. Oh, excuse me, 6 years. It's 5 years Peter and I have been doing it, but no, this show got started in the fall of 2020, talking about episodes, because that's what we love to do, and that's what we're going to do right now. We've come back around to our random episode. Now, this is a little game that we play with our friends and our Patreons. I toss someone a series, and then they roll a virtual die, as it were, to choose a season of that show. And then they also roll it one more time to choose an episode of that season. And this lucky chooser, which was your friend and mine, Aubrey Ilkanik, who runs here in Grand Rapids, Michigan, the USS Grand Petoskey, a chapter of Starfleet International that April and I actually started a number of years back before stepping away. She rolled on Lower Decks, and she ended up choosing Season 2, Episode 2, Kayshon, His Eyes Open. Our lower deckers are having trouble. But what'd you say?
I love Temerians.
I know. Our lower deckers are having trouble bonding with Ensign Jet Manhaver. I don't feel like they ever say his last name, but that's a great name because he has man, who has been assigned to Boimler's bunk and shift duties, and it took me a moment to remember that this was during the brief time that Boimler was aboard the USS Titan, an experience that gets more intense, that is more intense than he expected it to be. And we do get some great moments out of that. This episode was written by Chris Kula, directed by Kim Arndt. Air date was August 19th of 2021, because remember, this was always a summertime show. Kind of like Lower Decks is also a summer show. Yeah. So summers kind of belong to Star Trek in a lot of ways.
I think this was one of the first Lower Decks episode that you and I talked about.
Could be. And I realized I did not finish. Well, that was a weird little technical glitch, but I won't tell you why I did it. But anyway, let's get to talking about this episode. This was a classic amongst classics. Peter, walk us through the episode.
All right. So at the beginning, we get Jet shows up to the Lower Decks crew, and it's like, "Hey, I'm taking over for Boimler," and everyone's like, "Oh, cool." And then we get to see somewhere that we've never seen on a starship before: the sonic shower.
Now we've seen individual sonic showers. We saw Leia in one in Star Trek.
That's true.
Picture. You saw B'Elanna in one in Voyager.
We've never seen it on.
Yeah, so. You saw. Oh yeah, she was turning it on. And then you saw Archer in a traditional shower.
Yeah,
because it failed while he was shining. Then it started flying all over the place.
Yeah.
This brings up my first nit. And it's a real big nit I have about this. The whole concept of officers, and granted they're ensigns, sleeping in weird bunks and then all showering together. It just doesn't make any sense. It's big
Marine
ship.
Boot camp, guys.
It seems really weird that would be where the enlisted were. But let's not also forget that very oddly on the Excelsior in Star Trek VI, and actually, excuse me, on the Excelsior, but then reflected in the episode Flashback from Voyager, where Tuvok is having memories of being Ensign Tuvok on the ship during the events of Star Trek VI, that he and Dimitri Valtain, who is seen in the movie, is in a scene to die, that who is a lieutenant commander, is sharing a bunk with an ensign. It's like... It's a big ship. I realize there might be a lot of people on it, but oh my God, I could totally see two people sharing a room, but not four ensigns or an unknown number of ensigns. Like, how many people are on the Cerritos that they don't have enough room? Yeah, I realize it's fairly compact because it's just a saucer, pretty much. But I just think
that small though, because it's comparable in size to the Titan, and the Titan is not tiny.
Right, exactly. So I found it a bit odd, but much like all a through line through the show and really sitcoms in general, there has to be a certain sitcom logic that everything serves a shtick. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. So,
and I mean, part of it also was like, then you had a spot where all four of the characters could be regularly. Yeah.
Right.
Shenanigans could happen.
Right. Which they also, you're right. Everybody has to sleep in bunks, but they have this enormous bar lounge area that is like 5 times the size of the bridge. And so it's
almost as big as 10 Forward.
Yeah.
And that's a Galaxy class.
Right. But it's not so spaced out. It's all, it's a lot of hustle and bustle. And
exactly. It's laid out more like a diner, but yeah.
So they, like you were saying, they meet this new guy.
Yeah.
Then we find
obvious. There's already some Mariner going like, I'm the leader, and there's the fight, and they keep turning the sonic shower to higher frequencies or whatever
until they get nosebleeds and stuff.
And then we cut to the credits, and then we get Boimler freaking out with the Titan, just blowing Pac-Led stuff up and crazy maneuvers, and and him not knowing like, you guys do so much, this is nuts. So we get that. Then we find out that the lower deckers are being assigned to go to a collector ship.
Right.
To clear out dangerous collectibles.
And boy, we'll get into talking about all that means.
There's so many Easter eggs.
Our wrap up here, I was able to pull a list.
Yeah, there's so many things which are hilarious.
Yeah,
a bunch of them I caught, some of them I didn't, and some of them it's like it's the DiCaprio meme where you're like pointing, and it's like I know that, but I can't remember what it's called.
And some of them are made up, including the main MacGuffin that causes
Kalus's helmet.
His fornication helmet. That was great.
Yeah.
So here's nit number 2. Why is Kayshon's Federation standard, like his UT, not able to translate for him when he's been in Starfleet? Now, maybe he didn't go to the academy. Maybe he's an ROTC
Culture
type or whatever.
or something. Yeah.
But he's also a junior lieutenant and then described as a captain as having a long career as an officer. Why doesn't he have a better mastery of English? So it's just it Fed standard or English because nobody else has a problem with Federation, with the universal train. Nobody ever glitches and starts speaking their own native language like that. So, but again,
Klingons notably will do that.
Again, it's a bit. I get that it's a bit, but I'm like, okay. But as a nitpicker, that's the nit I'm picking on. But this Jet guy, he's a super wet blanket. He's stepping on everything everybody says, just trying to one up everybody and be smarter than Mariner, and she's just not having it. So they get into this virtual dick swinging contest as they get into a dangerous situation over on this collector ship. I made a note about one of the Easter eggs, but we're going to save all of that to the end. However, the little sentries, which are little flying Roombas, that Mariner immediately says, "Oh, what's it going to do? Suck me to death?" And she sets it off, and so the little blue lights turn red, and then it starts sucking her to death. Her
hilariously,
face.
The little eyeball on it reminds me very much of the Echo Papa, and I think that was deliberate.
Which that could be an Easter egg. We'll get into that in a minute. We go back and forth with the Titan because and again it's pack led. So they're and I love the pack. I love the flip flop with the pack lids because they were seen. Was it just once or was it twice? I think it was just once.
Once in Samaritan's Snare, and then they're in the background in Deep Space Nine.
End of season 2, they were meant to be this race that acts dumb and is dumb, yet they're great thieves and they're good at faking people out to steal technology and kidnap people. Yeah. But they're so inside baseball and they're so undeveloped that the average newcomer can just enjoy the comedic elements of how dumb they are. You know what I mean? So I think
they play very well to cartoon dumb bad guy.
Yeah, I think it really ends up working well. Speaking of the Titan, it's really weird how Troy is missing for this because when the Titan appeared at the end of last season, she was there, so Marina was there, and I'm trying to figure out if she comes back again. Because I don't think this is the last time we see the Titan, but it might be.
I think it might be actually.
Yeah. And I know that Marina herself moved from LA back.
We do get one more thing with the transporter clone, I think.
Oh, okay.
On the Titan.
I mean, we do. I just don't know if we end up seeing. Yeah, I'm curious to look into it. I don't know if Marina wasn't available, but it's weird because there's another officer also in blue sitting in her chair. So the question is she? Because it was somewhere right around this time, maybe it was a year or so later that they had their first, that Riker and Troy had their first child, and the child was born on the Titan. So could this be related to that? I don't know.
She's going to Risa to hang out and get randomly visited by Barclay again. I don't know.
Yeah, going to hanging out with her mother or some stuff. So I do love how they have the whole mission. Boimler is really down. Everybody's like, the Enterprise suck because all they did was explore stuff and blah, blah, blah. And Boimler is really offended because he loves the Enterprise and he's talking up how cool it was that they explore. And these guys are all gung-ho. They just like shooting shit up. And when Boimler friendly breaks them down, they admit, the one girl says, I joined up because I love Moss. And the guy, this was a line I wrote down, I joined up because I really love beaming. Which I thought was a funny line. Oh, but they really tee it up because Thomas Riker gets mentioned. Boimler is talking about how he has to cross-patch something or other to get them out of there. So he ends up creating a transporter clone of himself who then turns around and gets beamed up, and then Boimler steals the shuttle and goes back. And I love the end of it because and this was my third and kind of most annoying inconsistency, yet I do still understand. So Riker's like, well, one of you can stay, but the other one has to go back to, and I don't know why he's making the decision. One has to go back and then get demoted, which is not a thing. Like, why would he be demoted because he saved the lives of everybody, and he's a great officer.
It doesn't really make a lot of sense.
So it makes zero sense. But at the end of it, the transporter clone sneaks in and decides to stay and takes the name William. So what a suck up. But I love Riker's writer room. He's got the trombone in the corner. He's got like framed LP records hanging on the wall. It's like, it's a cool place that you'd want to hang out. But he's like, hey, do you love Romulan Ale? Let's listen to Nightbird. It was
that was a great reference.
Yeah. The other winner of the episode that is not an Easter egg is, of course, Kayshon does get transformed into basically a hand puppet by some weird beam, which they don't really explain that. But again, you don't really need to. But the sign that he's wearing while he's recovering in sickbay with our friend Dr. Tana, Jillian Vigman, friend of the show, who's been on. He is wearing a sign that says, "I am not a doll, do not play with me," while he's recovering. Yeah. That's pretty classic. This one, the name of the episode, unless we come up with something better, Pips and Street Corn. So eating street corn and the yellow one will end up on your collar. I said that could explain away all the costume errors in the first season of Voyager, because they were all over the place.
Or Chief O'Brien
for 6 seasons on Star Trek The Next Generation before he actually became Chief Petty Officer O'Brien. And so then Boimler goes back and he's reunited with her, and they take him back in, and it's all kind of good stuff. So that's good. So, I was an 8.5 on this because I was, how do you really rate a show that everything is so delightful? I understand that, but you've heard my nits, the unnecessary demotion, the bunks, the showering, it's everything just being mined for bits, but it's not consistent, and I don't like that because I'm a nerd, and that's why we do this podcast for the last 6 years.
Yep.
So you're still here, listener, I would imagine. So I shaved the points, but you know what? I did, but I didn't, because it's still wonderful. What about you?
I would probably fall somewhere in there, 8.5, maybe even a 9. Because the shtick of like all of the references visually is a little like, okay, we just wanted to slam everything in here, but they did have like a plot reason as to why.
Right.
Some of the deep cuts were like, really?
Yeah.
Giant Spock. That was kind of a okay. But I did like the fact that they just like were like, here's all of Star Trek history, and we're just gonna dump it in front of you,
right,
for funsies, and see if you can figure out what.
And it doesn't matter, because it's not like all of the stuff, and we're gonna go through here and treat you.
It's not even like member berries or stuff of like, hey, do you remember this? Hey, do you remember? Because it's not relevant to the plot.
Right,
it's
exactly.
In the background.
It's just in the background.
All Easter eggs, which I think is a wonderful way to do it. It's like, if you remember it, great. If you don't, it's just colorful background.
Right. Be colorful with the background.
Yeah. I do like that there is actually character development for Mariner and Jet in this episode, where they actually have to learn to like, hey, maybe Tendi and Rutherford have something to add.
Right. And don't shove them into a box. Because even they were like, well, we thought you guys were in charge. And, it's character development for them that they should, not be such little bumps on logs.
Yeah. Don't be a carpet. Like stand up for yourself. So even though it's just like there's a lot of Easter egg fest, there actually is some good character development, especially for those 4.
Yeah.
Boimler just has shit happen to him other than like he's kind of like, hey, but Starfleet's great for all of the reasons that we know Starfleet's great. And so that's kind of a continuation of his character.
Right.
So there isn't exactly development there, but it still gets him back to the Cerritos, which is where we wanted him in the first place, and then shenanigans can ensue. It can resume as normal.
It was a convenient vehicle to get him back to the Cerritos. All right. Well, the moment that you've been waiting for, if you're familiar with the episode, is a somewhat abbreviated breakdown of the Easter eggs, and this is going to be super rapid fire. However, my winning one, and I did put this in my notes, was the giant skeleton wearing a tattered TOS blue Starfleet uniform, which was clearly the physical remains of Spock 2, a clone by Spock created by Stavros Kenasilius in the TAS episode, The Infinite Vulcan, which we probably talked about in our rundown of that show. Other cadavers in the gallery: Mugato skeleton from TOS's A Private War, a Sellet skeleton from TOS's Yesteryear, and a Gorn skeleton from TOS's Arena. Gabriel Lorca also had a Gorn skeleton of his own in Discovery's Context for Kings. The mounted head of Alpha 117 Unicorn Dog from TOS, The Enemy Within.
Poor dog.
That's so sad. Trelane had a mounted of his own in TOS, the Squire of Gothos. The M13 Salt vampire from the very first episode of Star Trek, The Man Trap. Giant pink tribble from More Tribbles from TAS.
Colony.
Yeah, a Medusan pod from TOS, Is There No Truth and Beauty? A Horta egg from TOS, Devil in the Dark. A casket made from a repurposed torpedo casing, similar to the one used for Ira Graves and TNG's The Schizoid Man.
It's the Schizoid Man version variant.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it him?
The Wrath of Khan one. I didn't see a face in there, so it's probably not him, but that's what it was.
The remains of an Escalibin, which is actually Escalpian? Escalabian. You know, the rock guy.
Yeah.
Kales and the Spirit of Abraham Lincoln, similar to the ones who appear in TOS as the Savage Curtain.
Supposedly they were the ones.
An Asgonian skeleton, which could refer to the 1982 film E.T. the Extraterrestrial. I assume that is actually E.T. Weapons in the gallery. Now, this one actually gets yours. A Vulcan Lirpa from TOS Amok Time. Andorian Ushantor from Enterprises United. Jem'Hadar Katarkin from DS9's To the Death. Klingon Batleth from TNG Reunion. Klingon Mechlith from DS9's Way of the Warrior. Starfleet Isomagnetic Disintegrator from Star Trek Insurrection. I definitely picked up on that. Worf Sard from TNG's The Icarus Factor. Laurel Sword from Discovery Point of Light. Now, I do like that they integrate some Discovery in here, even though I'm not Discovery's biggest fan. I think that's pretty well-rounded. Sula's Rapier from TOS Naked Time. Other Easter egg references, Robert Picardo's Chateau Picard wine from TNG's Brothers. Ronan's Haunted Candle from TNG's Sub Rosa. Oh my God, we recently had actor Duncan Regehr on our show, though that episode is not coming yet, but it's coming up on the Spotlight. The famous Ghost. And the addictive video game headset from TNG's The Game. I did see that.
Yep, that
Cisco's baseball and bat from DS9's Emissary, which do actually end up in the Cisco Museum in the distant future, which we see in Starfleet Academy Season 1, which I think is super cool. Logicians, the logic, you know what I'm trying to say? Baseball cap. Yeah. From DS9's Take Me Out to the House Suite. A bus made for Captain Picard Day from TNG's The Pegasus.
Which was wearing the glasses.
Right. Now, this one doesn't make any sense. Khan Noonien Singh's necklace from James T. Kirk and James T. Kirk's glasses from Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Khan's necklace would have been atomized.
Yeah.
So that one didn't really work.
Cool Easter egg.
Yeah.
I liked seeing them animate it, but it shouldn't be there
It's not explainable. SS Valiant's flight recorder from TOS, Where No Man Has Gone Before, which is, of course, the second pilot. Data's poker visor from TNG's The Measure of a Man. I'm just going to do a couple more here because I'm going to run out of voice.
There's so many things.
Yeah. The Terran Empire flag from Enterprise in a Mirror Darkly. We'll be talking about Enterprise in a minute here. The Catan probe from TNG's The Inner Light, frequently considered to be one of the best episodes of that series. And on the flip side, Masaka's mask from TNG's Mask, considered to be one of the worst episodes of that series. The Kurlan Naskus from TNG's The Chase. Odo's Bucket from DS9 Storyteller. Boggs Thoughtmaker from TNG The Battle. And on and on and on. And I'm going to keep scrolling. A Nintendo Switch and fidget spinner real-life toys, Marty McFly shoes, which could reference the 1989 film Back to the Future, a helmet which could have helped Quark survive Klingon romance in DS9's Looking for Parmak in all the wrong places, painting Easter eggs. Oh my God, how much further down does this go?
One that I thought was quite funny was the Curiosity rover that is an actual rover on Mars.
Oh, nice.
Which hilariously, it's in the background, but it tells you how big the thing is because everyone's like, oh, it's a little thing. No, it's the size of a minivan.
I'll wrap up with this references to Riker's history, because Riker being my favorite character. Riker acted in playing TNG's Frame of Mind. Riker dreaded playing the song Nightbird, which was duplicated by transporter accident in TNG Second Chances, so this is outside of the physical Easter eggs. Boimler overstates how badly Riker was infected by the lust-inducing disease in The Naked Now. References in Boimler's history to the Enterprise D. It has 5 daycare centers from TNG's Rascals. It fought the Borg in TNG Q Who. It has string quartet in TNG Sarek. It had went to an alternate dimension in TNG's Where No Man Has Gone Before. And this is when I pointed out it was actually the USS Enterprise D, not the Enterprise D, that launched an insurrection in Star Trek Insurrection.
Yep. that
I am out of breath.
Annoying.
We do get, last one. There's a reference. Let's see here. It's in the Titan novel series that shuttlecraft are named for jazz musicians like Gillespie, Monk, and Coltrane. I like that reintegration of something from the novels. Attack Pattern Delta could be referencing a line that Luke Skywalker spoke during the Battle of Hoth in 1980's The Empire Strikes Back.
And that is only some of the Easter eggs. There are so many more in this episode.
I did not read half of them, so that was really impressive. And I will admit, you know what, full transparency, I had forgotten to list that. So when I paused the show earlier, I went and grabbed those and dropped those into our flow, because there's no way you could talk about this episode without doing that. So that's it for part one. Wow, we're right here with this could end up being I would say this could end up being a short episode.
Well, but usually what happens when we talk about Enterprise.
Usually segment 1 is 45 minutes if we have news and if we have a guest. And then segment 2 is generally also 45 minutes. So we end up with a 90-minute show. But we're going to talk about Star Trek Enterprise in our ranking of great and not so great episodes of every series. I will tell you, and I told Peter, I actually, in order to refresh myself of the over 100, there were 98 episodes of Enterprise, because it ran a little short. It was only 4 seasons and cuts here and there. So, which is funny, because in the old days, a show had to hit 100 episodes to be syndicated under the old system. So under the old system, it wouldn't be, but syndication doesn't really matter anymore. No. But this was a network show. But Star Trek Enterprise, which aired from 2001 to 2005 and was famously canceled, which used to be a knock against it, even though now every Star Trek show apparently is canceled because there are no current shows in production. Was on the now defunct United Paramount Network, or UPN, which was launched in 1995 by Star Trek Voyager. But the show now exists. And again, I used a list from IMDb, which provided all the episodes in an IMDb ranked format, which I was able to sort up and down in order to pick out the ones that I liked and disliked. If you're not at all familiar with the show or would like to dig a little bit deeper after hearing us talk about it, you can find the show on Paramount Plus. The series itself is available on video on demand for purchase from places like Fandango at Home, which is where I own TOS and TNG that way, but I watch the stuff on Paramount Plus. And also on physical media, you can still buy discs. You'll have to go to a place like Amazon, because brick and mortar physical retail selling things like that barely exists. Although, to be honest with you, if you go to a place like Disc Traders, which is a chain here, and at least in Michigan, I don't know where else it's found, you can often find seasons of shows for dirty cheap, because they're old. Because this is a show. This is the only show outside of TOS and TNG, because of the time it was produced, that it is available in HD, so you can purchase it on Blu-ray. I happen to still own them on DVD because I bought them when they came out. But that's how you can watch the show. So if you, for some reason, you're tuning in for the first time, these are our rules of engagement. Peter and I go back and forth. If we have the same episode, we'll cross it over, so it may not truly be 5 and 5. We keep it loose. We go back and forth. We share commentary when we have a match, and we jump in with a new one. I would say on the fly, but we haven't really done that. So that part
I've done it once or twice.
But that part is not 100% accurate. So, all right, well, let's jump in. Peter, you get the ball rolling. Give me a top 5, an episode that you loved in Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay, now this was hard because I wanted to do a little bit of spreading the love rather than just
and Enterprise is, you would say, your favorite.
One of my favorites. Yeah. It's up there, which is hilarious because I've told this story before. It wasn't at first, but I am going to go with an episode that I know that famously wasn't liked by some of the cast.
No boy.
But In a Mirror Darkly is one that I put very high up.
Yeah. Connor in particular. And again, Script Tucker, we've had him on the show. Great guy.
Yeah, he's got good reason. But
he's got good reason, because he wore a horrible prosthetic, and you can understand why he didn't like it.
And he was stuck with that stupid voice that he did as a joke. So it's like I get it. But as a nerd, as a Trekkie, I quite like this episode because one, it's a mirror universe episode that has no crossover with characters. There's the Defiant comes over. Okay, fine.
Right.
But there's no crossover. It's just set only in the mirror universe. There's a lot of detail and love set in making this a thing. They redid the entire title sequence. With all new music, everything. Redid the uniforms to an extent. Did a really good job of showing them as evil versions of themselves and not just it's just us, but we're just mean. No, they were actually like legitimately terrible.
Right.
And also change it so that like Admiral Forrest was in charge instead. Well, he was captain now, but Archer wasn't the captain. He was the first officer. And so then you had like really interesting character arcs going on. And I know I mention this every time new Star Trek stuff comes up, but I really, really liked how they treated the TOS sets and ship, that they were actually dangerous and advanced technology.
Right.
Because that doesn't happen very often. And so they actually treated it like the Defiant was very powerful and we had to learn how to use it. And you know, now we're over here, we're going to use their communicators in their uniforms because they're better than ours. Or like how the Defiant was able to like destroy 2 ships with barely breaking a sweat.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Not the ship would sweat, but I understand.
Yeah, but the same idea. And so like there is a lot of interesting stuff there. I mean, it did give us like rear firing torpedoes and phasers, which is questionable whether or not that ship could do, but you know, fine.
Right. Bend the rules a little bit.
Yeah, bend it a little bit. But they do a little bit of explaining some of the like why Spock was kind of a second class citizen in Mirror Mirror. Like there's a lot of world building. It's some of the best kind of things that season 4 did. Yeah. With all the world building and continuity stuff. But like it's just one of my favorites. It was one of the earlier episodes that I saw by myself. We were traveling somewhere, turned on the TV in a hotel, and it popped up the episode right before this. I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then this episode came on, and I had to stay up till like midnight because like I can't not watch the second part of this. I have to know what happens.
That's good, man. The best of them will get you that way. So yeah, that's awesome.
It's one of my favorite episodes. It's really, really well done. And it just shows that classic TOS Connie and just an amazing, like, as I say, it's how you treat it and how you light it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And I think it was really the last time it was really featured.
It was. Yep.
Yeah. And so, beloved for that reason. Well, I picked a very non-traditional one for my first one. And this actually harkens back to a very small subgenre of Star Trek. And this was actually ranked pretty low in that IMDb rating score. I call it a stacker. Yeah. And that would be season 3's North Star.
I have that too.
Oh my gosh, let's talk about it. I mean, it's knocks against it. It is complete. It's completely a blow off episode within the context.
Completely a bottle episode.
Yeah, within the context of season 3, the entirety of season 3, and we'll talk about this more as time goes on, has to do with the Xindi Arc. Seeking out this deadly race that wants to wipe out Earth. But it's an awesome Old West episodes. Two of Star Trek episodes I like, one from TOS and one from TNG. Our Old West episode, The Spectre of the Gun, which I talked about in our TOS rundown, in The Fistful of Datas, which was an all comedy episode from TNG. This was just a really fun story. It also had a great Star Trek message about the class system, about racism. Yep. And at the end of it, it ended up being a story of the week, and at the end of it, our people had to move on because they couldn't rescue these people. And I'd love to know whatever happened to love to see
people. A return to this planet.
Yeah. Because eventually, once interstellar travel became easy and they weren't stuck in the Expanse anymore, and it's funny that it's called the Expanse, and it later turned into a sci-fi show that people love that I've never really watched, but someday good. I will. Yeah. But yeah, I loved it. We had actor Glenn Morshower was one of the actors in this. He's one of these every guys who's been in TNG several times, but was also a great character in Fox's 24, which is a show I talk about all the time. This was just a really rock solid fun episode.
Oh yeah. I don't have a whole lot to add. It's just a great episode. And I like Westerns and Star Trek anyway, because they harken back to the original roots. Right. And so it's just fun when Star Trek does that. It's like, hey, we originally pitched as a Western in space. So here you go.
Our horse broke down outside of town. I looked to Paul trying to explain like why they're wandering around with no transportation.
It's so ridiculous. And then she's got like the bandana, just like Spock kind of does. Like there's just so much fun stuff outside of like the actual like meat of the episode, which is the classist system and the racism. Like that's really, really well done too. But there's also just so much just fun stuff of failure to ride a horse. Like all of these ridiculous things.
Yeah, it's good stuff. And then you had the great shootout, and obviously they just used the Western backlotted, Universal or whatever it is. But it was it became a bottle show simply because their setting was they did film outside, but it was cool, the shuttle pod landing, and then the Marines coming out, and the big shootout was just totally awesome.
It's just really well done. It is. It's a solid episode.
All right, let's talk stinkers. Give me a bad one. My first one is really obvious, and we talked about it recently, but you go ahead.
I'm going to pick a perhaps not as obvious one.
Okay.
Daedalus.
Oh, okay.
Daedalus is the transporter episode.
Came up on my radar as well, and it really didn't fit into the very heavily episodic season 4. It was just a toss in, and it was not good.
Yeah, it's one of those episodes where it's like you kind of get what they're going for. It's like the amazing scientist who had something go wrong, and he wants to solve a previous problem and redeem himself in a way, but it's just not great. And I mean, I always had a little bit of, even though Enterprise is one of my favorites, I still have qualms about having the transporter this early.
Yeah.
Just because of things that Worf said and whatever. Right. Timeline nitpicky. I'm good at that. But like, so I still nitpick that the transporter exists at this point. But the fact that we have like the creator of the transporter and he was friends with Jonathan's dad, and so there's this tension between everybody, and then there's lying. It seems like way too convoluted for no reason. It's like you could have, like, I think Archer even says, like, you could have just told us what you were trying to do, right, instead of lying to us, and we would have probably done it for you. Like, Archer's that kind of guy.
Yeah.
And then obviously they get his son back because that's what they're trying to do. They reconstitute his pattern because it's out in the middle of nowhere somehow, right, still intact. And he's able to like communicate kind of through subspace. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And then they reconstitute him for a second. He's like, "Oh, hi, Dad," dies. And
hi, Dad, and dies.
Yeah, and so it's like
stage direction.
It's kind of anticlimactic, which I think is purposeful, but it's just I don't know. It's got some good performances. Why can't I remember his name? The guy who plays
his name. I know the actor. My God, it's Bill. And he passed away not that long ago.
He's been in a bunch of other stuff. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but
Bill Emery. Oh God, no. Emery Erickson is the name of the character, so his name is not Emery something. Oh, one of us could look it up, but we're busy not doing that.
I don't know. But regardless, he does a fantastic job. Yeah. But it's just not that great of an episode. So obviously it's not one of like the massive stinkers, but it's one of those ones that it comes on. Yeah. And I click next. It's not even so bad that you can laugh at it. It's just
it's immaterial. Yeah. And it's just a bummer. Well, this is low hanging fruit, and we've talked about it within the last 6 months, and that would be season 3's Extinction. As I said, we talked about this, we really grilled down on it, but it was so bad. It was an absolute victim. It was, hey, we got 24 episodes to fill this year, but I just really feel like this early in the season, this was episode 3 of 24 episodes produced in season 3. It's like you're out of gas this early. Really, really, really rough. Our people beam down. They think they sense I don't even know why they beam down there, but they instantly get infected by a disease that turns them into weird mongoloid people, and they're trying to act, even Bakula and Linda and Malcolm, the actors we all love, couldn't act their way around this one. They're trying to act so alien ridiculous. And they're just trying so hard, and it's just
I applaud the effort, but it's just painful.
It's like a C+ for effort.
Yeah, it's I was scrolling to find that one, and it was like, I don't remember the name of that episode, so I picked something else, but it was just like that was in the back of my brain too. It's
I think C+ for effort is the new name of the episode.
Yeah, it's not great.
Oh my gosh! All right, well, take me back to a good one, please.
Okay. So another good one. I'm gonna pick one. I'm not gonna pick one of the super obvious ones for now.
Good, excellent.
Stratagem, season 3. I think it's episode 12.
I'm drawing a blank, but
this is the episode where they capture Degra, and they have
okay.
They have him locked in this like stupid simulated little shuttle pod with Archer.
Oh right, and they're trying to get him to. I think it was later than 12.
Yeah, it might be like 18
because it was getting a little closer because they eventually they win him over to their side, but it takes this
16. But
but it doesn't matter. But
either way,
totally.
It's a great episode because there's a lot of like this messing with him psychologically, and then we come to find out they've been doing this for like a week. Or long. They've been doing this for weeks, where they've been like resetting his memory like repeatedly they're trying to extract information from him, and it's like
without letting him know. Traditional torture.
Yeah, they don't want to torture him, but they want to pull out information in a natural way, and so it's an interesting thing of like we're torturing him, but we're not. And so it's one of those things where you see that slippery slope the Archer's willing to go down. Where it's like, this is definitely ethically questionable, but he does it anyway. And then this is also where like Degra does, like, there's obviously some lingeringness of this that helps him trust Archer later because his memory gets wiped at the end. But it's just some solid performances, like the Archer pretending when Degra finds out and freaks out. There's some really good stuff there, and then obviously the whole like pulling out and seeing like it's just a shuttle on a mount and they have TV screens next to the windows, and like that was like how they had it set up was pretty funny. So but it's just a really solid story of like desperation and all of that, and it's a good addition to the Xindi arc. So it was I just remember like this is an episode that I really really enjoyed the first time I saw it. And so whenever it pops up, it's like, oh yay, stratagem. Like,
I love it. Well, I'm the same way with my selection. This is one that I will go back to, and we will talk about this more in depth when we get to our multi-parter next year, when we get around to that. But that would be the 3-part kind of sort of 0 Hour and Stormfronts Part 1 and 2. So this would be the end of season 3 and then the 2-part season 4 premiere. One of the few I have 100% watched is I'll just go right back to it because I love it so much.
It's a good
even though 0 Hour itself is the rolling conclusion of this season-long arc, it does really stand alone because it does have the climactic fight with the big monster guy. It has the cool guys run away from explosions, which is just very, very telegraphed. I will admit it's a little hackneyed when you see Scott Bakula running away from all the explosions happening behind him. But I'm like, both that plus the having an alt history and let's fix it, and that's a big sci-fi trope. I don't care. I love it. It's also set in New York City, which is one of my favorite settings and places anywhere on Earth.
I also just think it's hilarious when the NX comes down and gets blasted by Spitfires. You're like, what the hell?
And they're shooting them with like little zap guns. But the beauty shot is when the shuttle pod is flying down at the end of 0 Hour, and then of course that's where we pick up again at the beginning of Stormfront, and they're getting shot at by the P-51s.
That's what it was. The Mustangs.
And they don't know. But what you were talking about, like when NX comes down and then they're flying over New York City, and there's little ray guns on the front of those.
The Mustangs. That's funny.
So one great story. And again, obviously, kind of feeling on a TV budget, but it was very inventive how, the Nazis were pretty much prevailed in taking over Europe. Then they came across and, and conquered a good chunk of the Eastern United States, and they were in the White House. And it was just, I thought it was a great portrayal, but it was also, they roped in other actors from UPN shows, including the young black female lead was on one of the other, I don't know, Girlfriends or one of the other shows that was on UPN at that time.
So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And then but it was like, okay, a little synergy there, but whatever.
Yeah.
But she played the almost kind of felt like a romantic, could have been a romantic
the resistance lead
for Archer. But it was I really enjoyed that. So
it's a
total slam dunk. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it. I thought they did an incredible job with that one. And then, like I said, that's one that I'll go back to and recommend in some ways, which is kind of a standalone adventure on its own.
Yeah.
Because it's not hard at all to pick up on, this monster fight, watch the previously on and then jump into the two-parter. Yeah. And at the end of it, you get a resolution to the temporal Cold War, which of course people bitched about at the time, but I'm like, come on, it's science fiction. That shit is just very cut and dry. But it gives, and then you get Daniels back again, who's actor Matt. His name is Matt. I don't want to say Matt Williams, but that's on the tip of my tongue. He's an actor who's in a ton of stuff. We're really doing. We're
doing some amazing stuff right now.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was great, and it wrapped up the Suliban. We don't, and excuse me, Silic, who was the last time they ended up seeing him. Matt Winston. I know it was a W. So yeah, but it was good to see that. So yeah, love that one. So all right, let's talk about another stinker. Give me a bad one.
Bad one. Okay. All right, which one do I want to go with? I'm going to go with Regeneration.
Oh, yeah.
This was the Borg episode.
It's just as rough as the Ferengi episode where it's like, we can sneak it in as long as they don't say it.
I have them both on the same line because I wasn't sure which one I wanted to go with. But so
I think you're welcome to a doubleheader because I think in a lot of ways it's conceptually why you chose it.
They suffer from the same problem.
They have the separate from the same conceit that it's familiar, but we don't identify it, so we can get away with it.
We didn't say what it was, so we can get away. And then no,
I'm giving you the sign that my dad showed me in pickleball, which means out.
Yeah,
it's out.
Yeah, it's out. So the whole conceit of these two episodes is in Regeneration, it's here's a piece of the Borg sphere that got blown up in First Contact, and we have this expedition. They rethaw it, and then the Borg assimilate, and then go rampage and get on.
But they never say we are the Borg, which is completely.
They never say we are the Borg, which is antithetical to how the Borg function.
Exactly. They don't not say. Well, we could say our thing, but we
not
forgot
today. Yeah,
don't think so.
So, and then the Ferengi. In Acquisition, they get attacked by a Ferengi ship. The Ferengi try to, take all of the women and all of the valuables, and then, we pit greed against them, and then they get taken over. So yeah, it's a very thin plot. It's got some great guest stars, but it's not that interesting. But again, the Ferengi aren't identified, so we don't know who they are. But it's you can't really do that because in Next Generation we talk about how Picard met the Ferengi and they didn't identify themselves, and so we didn't know who they were. It's we can't have this happen 2 or 3 times and not know who they are. Or at least not know that hey, wait, we've seen you before. We might not know your name, but we know you.
Somebody took a picture and I was looking through a history book and so Ben Sisko's Gabriel Bell.
Yeah. So the conceit is just kind of meh. And then Regeneration, the fact, and this is really what drives me nuts, the fact that Phlox in the 22nd century is able to make a cure for assimilation by himself. Yep. No.
Well, it's a slippery slope that tilts us right in the entire conceit of Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about at a later time.
It's just we can't, I hate that so much. You can't and I know we've complained about this. I've complained about this a little bit when we were at talking about Voyager, where it's there's kind of a steady lowering of the threat of the Borg by just kind of making them, we beat them this week. Right. And so this one just kind of takes it up a notch where it's the one thing that the Borg could do to you, which was strip you of your humanity in a very horrific way.
And you can't stop them.
And you can't stop it. And you completely neuter it. And it was just that's a shitty thing to do. I do not like that.
I agree. I agree.
I mean, the only funny thing at the end was they managed to get out of transmission and it'll reach the Delta Quadrant sometime in the 24th century, which is a sort of explanation about how the Borg knew where Earth was. Even though they scanned the Enterprise D computer bank, so you don't need that explanation.
Yeah, and not really, because it was the Q that tossed the Enterprise in front of a Borg cube, so the Q made the Enterprise find the Borg, not the other way around.
Well, I'm just saying why the Borg then showed up later to come invade.
Yeah, that's not why they decided to everything that happened in the best of both worlds. That's not why that happened.
Yeah. So it's like, I get it, but it's like, you did not need to do this. This was unnecessary continuity and also just kind of craps on things. And so it's just
it was a huge mess. Well, here's an even huger mess. And I picked the lowest of the low-hanging fruit, but naturally the build series finale of These Are the Voyages is mine. And I have a note on this.
Connor, we know you liked it.
One of my best. If that's what I wrote, I'm like, Connor, I totally understand. You're satisfied that your character got an ending. That's cool, because nobody else really did. I'm glad, and I'm glad that's super cool. As an actor, I'm glad that he's satisfied by that.
I'm glad that he has that view that he doesn't feel bitter about it.
Please visit our website and go to our listing of our spotlight episodes and find the one where we talk to Connor. He talks a little bit more about that. I love seeing Jonathan and Marina, even though their attempt to make them look like they did back in 1994 or filmed in 2005 doesn't work. We all get older. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I thought their recreation of the TNG sets really didn't land either, even though they blended some footage with 10 forward to kind of,
which is quite funny because you can see Captain Picard standing in the background.
Yeah. I'm like, I love seeing them, but absolutely nothing else in this lands, because at the end of it, Peter, we've talked about this before, but there was a medical drama called St. Elsewhere in the 80s. Are you familiar with it? I feel like
I think I've heard of it, but yeah.
And at the end of it, it's all revealed to be the dream.
Oh, right. It's
in a snow globe of an autistic child played by Chad Allen, who is also Jono, the abducted human boy in the TNG episode.
Right. We did talk
Suddenly
about
Human.
Gross.
So this is the St. Elsewhere of Star Trek, which could also be a name of this episode. And I really, and no one since 2000, in the last 21 years has appreciated that. I've never met anybody besides Connor Trenier who liked this episode.
Yeah.
So he liked it for purely personal reasons, which I can also appreciate. Mm-hmm. For purely personal reasons, I fucking hate it, and so does every other Trekker I've ever met.
It's on my list too.
Okay. All right. Well, then good. Then all right. Then please, by all means, add your 2 cents.
Add my wood to the fire.
Yeah.
Or
gasoline.
Yeah.
Lighter fluid anyway.
Yeah. The thing that really kills me for this episode is the time jump, because then we skip the entire Romulan War. It's like if you're going to do an adventure that Riker goes to revisit, just revisit something during the missions. It doesn't have to be the final one.
Right.
Because if you're going to do like, this is the final mission of the Starship Enterprise, it feels like it should be done in the, like, from the storytelling lens of this is the present, so that we're living with the characters. Whereas the way that they framed it, we're not living with the characters. In the back of our minds, we know this is a holodeck program. They're dead.
Yeah.
We're not seeing Archer or T'Pol or Trip actually do their things and joke with Shran and suffer and all of that. And,
well, even the TNG part of it seemed like, okay, you jammed it in the middle of an episode, and we're doing the suspension of disbelief of feeling like this fits visually with the episodes or the events of the TNG episode Pegasus, which is, they could have just said, okay, well, you know what? Why don't you give us Riker and Troy
on the Titan
in present day in the Titan, and they're watching a holodeck program for some other reason, or, this could have been a point that, maybe it's in the future and they're showing it to their kid who we later leave. I mean, create some continuity where inserting this into an episode of TNG.
The reason they stuck it into the episode of TNG is for that final shot, which is awesomely epic.
Right. And we get our first, we get our first nice, clean transition view of the Enterprise D rendered as a CGI object, which is fantastic. And then we get, well, of course, we had a rendering of the Connie 1 as the Defiant back in the Mirror Darkly. And you're right. If you watch the last 60 seconds of this, it kind of makes it all worthwhile. This was also a single length episode, which is
bizarre.
And so, I think Discovery was as well. But a real finale doesn't. I think of the classic finale,
the full length finale, and so it just
the 90 minutes.
Doesn't do great service to the characters. It makes us feel like we missed so much of their lives,
right?
Which we did. We missed the whole Romulan War and then some.
Yeah,
exactly. It's like we get to see the start of the Federation, but we don't. They keep talking up the speech and we don't hear it.
Right. And the whole trip into Paul were like, what I'll talk about in a moment here for one of my best, I guess I'll kind of give it away. They reach a point in their relationship where we thought, well, from this, it could blossom into them having getting married or something. And then they just completely step on that. Like,
they 180 it. And I was like,
Paul just says, oh, do you ever think about 7 years ago when we had a romance and stuff, and do you ever think about us? And I'm like, really? Even through a war and all of this, they never. And it's 7 years. She didn't go through Ponfar as well, or she didn't go through Ponfar as well. Yeah. So they just completely crap all over their romance, which was a great component of seasons 3 and 4.
One of the best, I would say.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Which, since I'm already talking about it, I'll take the torch and jump back to the good side. Demons and Terra Prime.
That's on my list too.
Yeah, there we go. Which as we, as I think a lot of us feel, I can't speak for all of us, but I think a lot of us feel that this was really what felt like a real series finale if we had to make a choice of it, because it brought us to a point where, we're satisfying the assignment of the show, which was to bring United Earth, or USPA, United Earth Space Probe Agency, which is, I always like to throw that in there because that was a very early TOS reference. But I think at some point in the series, the logo from that with the writing about USPA,
I think it does show up in a couple places. Yeah. I think it does in First Flight.
Okay, yeah, and again, that's a total sidebar. Great 2-part episode. Peter Weller, who is best known as RoboCop, is absolutely great. Is a very complex villain. He's not just a snidely Whiplash with his. I'm stealing one of yours. You say that all the time. It's not just twirling his mustache. He's layered. Yeah, but
they actually do xenophobic racism well.
Right.
Pun not intended.
Yeah.
But
yeah, well, the one miner he's talking about reparations, which was a hot button, issue with African Americans at that time, was absolutely talking about aliens and the Zindi and how come we haven't been compensated for the damage and the loss of life to our planet. The sadness with the Vulcan baby that is, a test tube baby that's, made and how it doesn't survive and how it just guts Trip at the end of it because it just takes him right back to, the death of his sister, which obviously happened. And how it brings to Paul and Trip closer. And then again, like I said, and subsequently it's just completely destroyed by the finale. Yeah. So this is my fix. This episode, title card, 7 years later, then show us the last few minutes of these are the voyages. Now we have a proper series finale.
There you go.
Think about it. Because it would be they have this meeting, hey, this is a proof that we can all work together and blah, blah, blah. And then maybe you either get a voiceover or you get a title card that leads us to the dais where we have the scene with him and T'Pol. And obviously you pull out the part where Trip dies because that's like, really wasn't really necessary. Sorry, Connor. I know that felt great for you, but let's say we kind of work around that. And then you see Archer walk down, he gives his speech instead of having it be cut, which always felt like a real FU to the audience. That they would like, Troy was like, I had to memorize this when I was in grade school. Well, let's not watch it now. Goodbye.
Even if you just gave us like the first paragraph. Like,
and it wouldn't be like Cap at the end of Age of Ultron. Avengers,
yeah, not that, but like how like if you're gonna do like a thing about like if you did all of Gettysburg and then the final scene is Lincoln stepping up to the podium and he says 7 years ago and then you fade
four score and 7 beers ago.
Yeah, but if you then faded to black, like people then know the rest of it and it's fine. So if you did something like that where you gave like here's the vibe of what Archer's going for, and then your imagination can take over like the amazing stuff that he did next. But if you got like it started, that would actually like mean something.
Right. It's a way to fix it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, powers that be at Paramount, if you're really going to move forward with this United Earth deal with Scott Bakula, I know everything is pipe dreams.
Do a flashback and finish it, or do a recording. My gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. All right. Well, since we kind of danced around, we had a big lousy one, and then we shared, and then we had a great one that we shared. Let's go back to a lousy one, and maybe we don't have another match, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pick another kind of well, maybe this one isn't. I've got 2, and I feel bad because they're kind of picking on the same character.
That's okay.
So
you picked what you picked. Stand by it. It's okay.
So you want one or do you want them both? Because they're not related exactly.
Are these your last 2?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go for it. And then
I have an honorable mention for a good one.
That's okay. All right, do your bad one. Do your double bad one. I'll do my bad one, and then we'll go back to the good, and we'll wrap it up there.
Okay, so I have a double whammy for our dear friend John Billingsley. I'm sorry.
Oh, and you know what? It was John's birthday this week. We exchanged emails because it's handy because he's on social media in name only, and Facebook will remind you when it's somebody's birthday if they put that in there. But one of the pings I get on either Threads or Blue Sky is I get pinged when Trek Movie, which is our main source of news, will say, hey, let's say happy birthday to John's Billingsley. So John has been on our show several times. We've helped him promote some causes. So I have his email address. So I reached out to him by email and he emailed back and stuff. So John, we love you.
We do.
Sorry that we're picking on your character. We're not picking on you. You're a wonderful guy and a great actor.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yep. Yeah. So with that prefaced, I feel bad, but I don't like these episodes. So A Night in Sickbay. Mostly because there's just
dog drama.
Nothing happens.
Right. The longest night.
Oh my gosh. It's just super, super boring. I can't really say much about it. It's just really boring. And then the next one would be Dear Doctor. And I know that some people are going to be like, well, why? The main reason here is it's not because of like Phlox doing like explaining his rationale. It's kind of like in the end, his decision is kind of like, oh no.
Oh my. No.
So it's like the ultimate decision that he has is it's just not. I really don't like it because it kind of ends up making him a little bit of a almost a eugenicist. And it's just like, I get kind of where they're going, but it's just like, I don't think that that's where we want to go. And so it doesn't cast Phlox in a light that I'm really fond of. And now, to be fair, it is one of those situations where he is an alien. He has different moral code, all of those things. So there are like mitigating circumstances, I suppose. But it's just one of those like, I don't really like that. So if you liked it, that's fine. It's got great performances and like the framing thing with Phlox telling his doctor friend, whose name is escaping me right now,
is played by actor Richard Reel, who in Office Space invented the jump to conclusions, man. I take the specs to the goddamn engineers.
But like he's talking to Dr. Lucas and doing all this, and it's got some like interesting like racial stuff and things. Like it's got good stuff, but like
it's got good bones.
The solution is
no
just
pun
like
intended.
No, you can't do that. Healing them, yes, but judging everybody and like making moral. No.
Ugh. Oh well. This is the first season 1 episode that I think I've gone to. I don't know if either one of those was from season 1, but one that I truly loathe, and it falls in line with the season 1 Berman era curse. Like every one of the Berman era shows had a shitty season 1, TNG shitty season 1, DS9 shitty season 1, Voyager short shitty season 1 with peaks of brilliance in all of them.
All of them had a couple good episodes, but
what's that?
All of them had a couple good episodes, but
Vox Sola in season 1, I'm like, boy, it's killer spaghetti. It's it's Monster of the Week stuff, which was Monster of the Week, and it was the exact same year. It was the fall of 2001. Reminds me of Smallville, because the whole first season of Smallville, it was Monster of the Week almost every episode, certainly
exactly
for the first 10 or 20. But this was like, we picked up a thing, and I remember it's this brain thing, and it's in the shuttle bay, and everybody gets like stuck in it. And I don't remember the particulars of it because it's just so fucking stupid. You know what I mean? But it's the season 1 curse, and then as you and I know, watching the center seat, they were really struggling, particularly in that first year to land scripts of original stuff. And it was tough. They were suffering from their own internal kind of franchise fatigue at that point because, they'd been on for over 15 years and the snake was eating its own tail. A lot of the stories
part of
ended
it was
up being the same.
They hadn't brought in tons of new writers. And so that was part of the problem, I think.
Yeah, they just did not have a lot of fresh ideas. So that's how we ended up with the attack of the killer spaghetti.
Yeah.
All right, I have two good ones left. How many do you have?
I have one honorable. I have a good one that I have two good ones that I can do if you don't catch them. So
well, I'll jump. I will. Okay, you jump in with your good one, and then I have two good ones. Okay. So we'll do.
I'll do one. Carbon Creek.
Oh yeah, low hanging fruit.
It's a low hanging fruit. I know.
One of the widely lauded ones, and again, it's set in the past, which is a setting I love.
Yeah, everyone loves this one for good reason. It's set in the 50s.
Yep,
late 40s, early 50s.
Because it's Sputnik, so it's 1957.
Yeah, it's 57. I think.
Yeah, I think this one's Sputnik.
But it's set in like a rural town in the United States,
Pennsylvania, Carbon Creek.
And so it follows up on like the Vulcans were observing Earth, and so this Vulcan ship is observing. It crashes. Some of the people die. I think they vaporized the bodies to make
it was a crew, at least one or two.
One or two. The captain died.
And
so then it's to Paul's grandmother,
second grandmother, so her ancestor. Anyway.
Yeah, one of her ancestors, still played by Gillian Baylock.
Right, and this was approximately 100 years prior to the events of our show.
Yes, yeah. But they're crashed there. They have to figure out how to survive. They end up working at like the bar. One of the they comb their hair to like prevent their ears to be seen, and so one of them gets called Mo from the Three Stooges.
Fun fact about the mom, because there's a single mom who either owns or runs the bar, and her son is this very smart young man. But the mother character is the sister of John and Joan Cusack, who are very famous comedic actors. Yeah, which I always forget because you end up seeing her in a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
but it's cool. We found out on this one that the grandmother, to Paul's grandmother character, invented Velcro, or rather introduced it. So it was kind of like Scotty in transparent aluminum.
Yeah, it was.
How do we know he didn't invent the thing?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And there's a romance thing, and eventually one of the Vulcans stays home to stay with the
Cusack woman.
Yes, he stays there. The other two leave, and they like say that, oh well, he died or whatever, so that
he walked the earth, or he could still be out there.
Yeah, well, they say he died, and so that Vulcan High Command doesn't go looking for him.
Right,
but he actually comes back in the book that we did with Dayton Ward.
Right. Which I didn't finish reading. Thanks a lot. You know what? I said 100 years is 200 years because it's 57 to 2152.
Yeah. So, but regardless, it's got some really, really good character moments. There's some really, really hilarious, like time period specific jokes.
Right.
Because you have like spacefaring people, like Star Trek Vulcans, as we understand them, are now dealing with 1957 Earth, who's barely been into space. There's just lots of fun little time specific things. I like time travel to like periods like that. So it's just a really fun episode. And yeah,
for sure.
And hilariously, like this is the whole shtick where like, to Paul is like, time travel's not possible sort of deal, which eventually is kind of a running gag. And then at the very end of the episode, she pulls out the clutch that her ancestor had kept from Earth, so it's just kind of a fun little so
I totally. And that was very early. That was like episode 2 of season 2, so it was like an early brilliant script they nailed. Well, here's one from season 1 that and of course I love the series premiere. I thought they did really well, but I kind of left that out. But this was episode probably 7 or 8. It was the Andorian incident. So, like I said, one of the very few bright spots for a couple of reasons. So, first of all, Jeffrey Combs,
I was
who
trying
I've met
to come
before.
Up with the Shran episode. I just didn't put one in there.
And, I've met him before a couple of different times, once at Grand Rapids Comic-Con a few years ago. He'll be at Trek Long Island, which April and I will be repping the podcast at next month on Long Island in New York.
To him for me.
I absolutely will. Keep in mind, if you're listening to this show, we do actually have a couple of tickets to give away. I've not had anybody respond, but at this point, I would say just drop us a line. If you live in the New York area and would like to attend the show, you can go there, compliments of us. So drop us a line, just hit us up on any of our socials and I can help you out. That's something that the Trek Long Island people offered us as participants of the show. So, but yeah, no, I love that he's the best role. He's the guy who nails everything. Even the terrible episode of Voyager he was in with The Rock with the wrestling, even he was good in that role. I mean, oh my God. But this is the first real fleshing out of one of Trek's signature aliens not only from the original series, but also being a founding member of the Federation, which never gets talked about, and a revitalization of their makeup jobs because they give you the damn moving antenna, which is great.
The head to the front, which is
right.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. Oh yeah. I didn't even really necessarily notice that, but finally gave this race some agency and their own little racism where they call humans pink skins and stuff. Yes. And but yeah, this is one of the first other hostile aliens that we bump into on this new series that finally gets fleshed out a little bit. And we found out that it was never really revealed that the Andorians and the Vulcans have our neighboring systems, and they've had a war/Cold War with each other for centuries.
They've had a feud for a very long time.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought this was absolutely great. And at the end of it, we found out that the Vulcans are lying sacks of shit, which is just really not that surprising. So yeah. Absolutely love this episode. All right, what's your honorable mention? And then I'll give you my final good one.
I was going to say E².
Oh yeah, more alt history, alt history
I'm a
stuff.
Sucker for time travel.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the one where, if you're not familiar, dear listener, this is an episode where in season 3, later season 3, Enterprise is on the way to meet Degra, and so they go through a special nebula to try to cut for time,
right? Because they're being chased by aliens or whatever,
the Xindi, and they're going to die by the reptilians.
Yeah.
But they are saved by something that looks vaguely familiar. Well, not vaguely familiar. It is the Enterprise, the NX.
Their ship with a bunch of junk
on it, and a fancy new energy pod racer deflector.
Right, there you go.
So that's all I could think of when I saw it. So we get like descendants of people. So we have like Trip and T'Pol's son, who is the captain of the ship. Ancient T'Pol is still on the ship, which has a fun little scene where Ancient T'Pol talks to present day T'Pol.
Right, and you have your typical early 2000s horrible old age makeup on someone, which is ridiculous.
It's kind of like it's not quite as good as like old Odo talking to present Kira in the Descendants episode in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, the Children of Time, which was one of my that was
another good one. It's similar to that, where it's like T'Pol is giving T'Pol advice. And it's a really,
let me rap to you.
Yeah, it's a really good scene. But there's also like the same kind of thing of like, oh, well, we have to throw them back in time so that we continue to exist. And then like, no, we can't do that. That's dumb.
Right.
So it's not the same as like Odo making the choice for everyone. It's that Enterprise does make the decision to protect the original NX and allow them to get through where they need to go. So it's got like great arcs of sacrifice. Now, does that Enterprise cease to exist based on how Star Trek timeline mechanics go? Maybe, maybe not. They could still be around. But it's just a really well done story. And I like the fact that we have like the NX and this alternate history of like, well, we had to become a generational ship because we couldn't get home because our warp engines were broken and Earth was destroyed anyway. So,
whoops.
Yeah. So
I hate it when that happens.
So that's one of my honorable mentions. I know it's kind of a low hanging one of like this. Everyone kind of likes this one, but it's good to mention. Yeah. It's a good episode.
Well, and I'll wrap it up with another low hanger, but one that I think really understands the assignment of what Star Trek's all about is the season 2 finale, The Expanse.
Yep.
This dropped a little over 18 months after us here in this country were rocked by the events of September 11th, and Star Trek does their take on it.
Yep.
On a cosmic galactic scale.
Much larger scale.
Yeah, exactly. So, and it launches what is now very commonplace, but in the early 2000s was very nascent, which is your story-long arc. So this was 2003. Fox's 24, which I know referring to a second time, came on. I've told this story before, but it came on in the fall of 2001, mere weeks after September 11th, and featured a plane explosion which had to be cut around because it was too fresh. And in a lot of ways, this is very fresh. And we see a mysterious sphere pop out of a hole in space, stop short at Earth, and shoot a laser beam that hits Florida and cuts all the way to Venezuela, and 8 million people die, including Tripp's baby sister, which really drives things into season 3. We have another framing part of the sequence, which has to do with the ancestor of TNG's evil Klingon, the Duras sisters, and Duras himself, which is, you got to have a B story. I get that. But a lot of it is kind of creating this deepening mystery when they find this corpse that is a race that nobody's heard of, and it's tracked back to this region of space that even the Vulcans are afraid of, because the Vulcan ship was lost in there. The people killed themselves because it drove them nuts. And so it's creating this scary, real threat, not only of a race, but also of space itself. And leading us into to setting things in motion with something that's not been done before in Trek. Let's face it, at this point in the Berman era, we really needed something to be a shot in the arm, to give us something fresh, because things had become very stagnant, very everyday. Like, let's recycle the same 5 plot lines, like the killer spaghetti thing I was talking about. This was the real shot in the arm that, in a lot of ways, came too late. The ratings continue to sink. The first 2 seasons didn't do the show any favors. No. It was really in seasons 3 and 4 that the show hit its stride and really could have done so much more. So, that's it. That's our take on. And I said, this will be a shorter show. We're still an hour and 15 minutes, which is usually what we do. But Star Trek Enterprise can be found, as I said, on disc, either in SD or in HD, and it was the last of the series that's available. I take that back now, because you can purchase discs of the Paramount Plus era stuff is available.
Yep, they're on disc. Yeah.
My brain skips past this, but of the Berman era, which is a big focus of the show, both Voyager and DS9 are not available in HD, and they probably never will be, which will always break my heart.
You never know. There might never be an official release, but there will likely be, with the improvements in technology that makes it much easier to remaster and clear up things. Okay. There may be fans that are going to be able to give us.
Until Paramount swoops down and crushes them too.
Yeah.
The evil empire.
One can dream, though.
We can dream, though. All right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We will be back next time with another random episode, which I will absolutely keep secret. And then I believe we are also jumping right into talking about, I'm trying to figure out if we're keeping things going. This will be a challenging one for Peter and I. We're going to do a top 5 and a bottom 5 for Star Trek Discovery, which is a show that famously we don't love, but you know what? We're going to dig deep. We're going to find something good about it, because when you love Star Trek, you love all of Star Trek.
We'll have to take them in where they were, because context is for kings.
Which actually already got mentioned back in when we were talking about the Lower Decks Easter eggs. Not bad. But anyway, that is our show for this time. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Peter, where do people find you out there if they want to talk about Star Trek?
All right. If you want to talk about Enterprise and the lovely things that happened on that show, you can find me at Petrus Aquinas on most social medias. I don't say much, but if you poke at me and say, hey, I wanted to argue about In a Mirror Darkly, I will happily do so. Otherwise, you can find me on our Discord. You can find me on ELH's Twitch and Discord, where we do Star Trek role-playing games, and you can find me behind the scenes on Starship Excelsior.
I love it. And I run not only the Secret Friends Unite socials, but also my own. You can find us everywhere except X and TikTok. We kind of stay away from those ones. So Secret Friends Unite at all those places. I am at the C3, TheCeeThree, posting fun stuff and talking about pop culture and what have you. Also, of course, over on our Discord. I'm trying to be consistent with my what you see on my YouTube and my socials and all those socials and my little 3-minute kitchen chats where I'm catching you up on stuff that doesn't make it into the regular shows that I'm out there enjoying and stuff that I think you should check out too. So please definitely do that. And of course, our mailbag is always open, secretfriendsunite@gmail.com. Drop us a letter. Give me your favorites of Enterprise or other episodes that we missed that were bad or great. And we will read those on a follow-up episode of the show. I'd love to have somebody ping in. If we have an audience that's passionate, they don't always do a great job of letting us know. Also, keep in mind, if you're listening to us on a particular streamer, please give us a 5-star rating if you enjoy our show. It just helps increase the visibility of the show and helps us get new listeners. And also, of course, as always, if you enjoy our show, tell a friend, share the show. And we would love to have more people on board. Also, keep in mind, best way to find all of our shows in one place is over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite, where you can get great bonus content for only $2 a month. We'd love to have you on board. With that, friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trekking.
Peace and long life.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and podcast services around the galaxy, as well as video on our YouTube channel. You can support Secret Friends Unite by becoming a Patreon member, get bonus programs and more over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite. Join our Discord community for even more discussions on all things geek. For all the latest updates on Secret Friends Unite, make sure to follow us on Threads at secret.friends.unite and visit secretfriendsunite.com. Find our merchandise at TeePublic and Redbubble. Thanks for listening, and may the Force live long and prosper.